Actions speak louder than words. Today I want to talk to you about cultural differences in nonverbal communication. My general purpose is to just inform you, and by the end of my speech, you should be able to recognize some of the nonverbal communicators. Nonverbal communication is one of the key aspects of all our communication. Today I'm going to inform you of 4 nonverbal communicators within different cultures. Being an evangelist, I've had the opportunity and the experience when it comes to public speaking. But also, evangelists have the privilege of being able to kind of travel and go around and meet different people, different backgrounds and cultures. Now, in order to better understand what nonverbal communication is, the different modes of nonverbal communications, and some of their cultural differences, I'm going to begin by explaining to you what nonverbal communication is. According to Jones 2013, in an introduction to communication studies, he describes nonverbal communication as messages other than words that we use every day that conveys meaning when interacting with others. Now, nonverbal cues, they do vary from culture to culture, although some gestures and some cues may be the same. They do have different meaning. According to an article at Andrews University 2014 titled Nonverbal Communication Modes, when it comes to posture in the United States is not even recognized, and it may even be criticized if someone were to actually do it. But in Japan, it's expected. It's expected in Japan. Next time we'll talk about some of the cultural differences with touching. According to Andrews University, it says that nonverbal is the nonverbal stimuli in a communication setting that's both generated by the sender and the receiver. And I would like to present you with a story that actually kind of relates to touching when it comes to sender and receiver. An African American male, he goes into a convenience store recently taken over by Korean immigrants. He gives a $20 bill to the cashier for his purchase that he has made. Miss Cho, who is the cashier, and he waits for his change. She puts his change down on the counter and in front of him. And you want to know what the problem is, you ask. The problem is here, in this form of touching, Koreans and many other Asian countries, they don't touch strangers, especially those of the opposite sex. But here in this story, the African American just sees this as another example of discrimination. So proceeding on to my next point, ways to recognize some of the nonverbal communicators. Now, in an article in Toastmasters International titled Gestures, it states that we use our gestures in everything that we do. Our facial expressions. Gestures are parts of our bodies that we use to communicate to others. We use our facial expressions, and believe it or not, facial expressions, it says, is the key determinant of meaning behind any message that we want to convey. Because when we speak, our face communicates. It communicates our attitudes, our feelings, our emotions. It communicates more clearly than any other part of our bodies. So being able to be aware of some of these are key when interacting with relationships and especially different cultural backgrounds. Now, in conclusion, once we become aware of some of the nonverbal communicators, we can better respond. We can be better effective in our communication within different cultures. Now, let's review the main points. What is nonverbal communication? Jones states that nonverbal communication are messages other than words that we use to convey meaning when we're speaking to each other. And I named 4 different ways. Gestures, our gestures has meaning. Our facial expressions has meaning. Our touching and bowing, we don't even do that, but it is done in different cultures. Now, in closing, let's always remember or keep in mind that no matter what we say, that our actions speak louder than words.